Welcome to A Better Way, the podcast dedicated to exploring deep topics in Elly's book.
Integrating faith and psychology in a better way.
I'm Isa.
And I am Elly.
Hey, all right. Welcome to our December podcast, where we will be discussing what, Elly?
We are going to be talking about casting a vision for 2025, really a better way to dream.
Mm-hmm.
So, Isa, I have a question.
Yes, I may have answers.
You may have answers. So, tell me about your favorite New Year's resolution.
Oh my. So I have a love and hate relationship with New Year's resolutions. Yes, I've done them. I'm an American adult, which is like a rite of passage. Just say at some point you had a resolution. And I think throughout my adult life, I've had resolutions from going to the gym, saving more money throughout the year so that I have a certain amount at the end of the year. It's been all kinds of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly don't think resolutions are that healthy. The way we do them, the way we think we have to do them. Goal setting, absolutely. Resolutions, the way we do it as a culture, statistics show people by February, they've already stopped doing a lot of the things they resolved to do. Mm-hmm.
And I think February the 12th, well, first of all, yes, you're right. They are. They're highly ineffective, and they start with the supposition that something is bad, something's wrong with me. I have to change and get rid of the old and step into the new. And there is, I believe, I want to say February the 12th, and I'll try to remember to look that up and verify that. But that's known as the National Quit Day.
Oh, wow.
This is the day. We don't even make it
right before Valentine's too.
I know, right? Yeah.
People just don't want to buy stuff for Valentine's. No, I'm kidding.
But New Year's resolutions start with this supposition that something is bad with me, so I have to change. And we try to change everything all at one time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to lose weight, and which has probably been the New Year's resolution that has been, I want to say the biggest one is to lose weight or to get financially secure. Mm-hmm. So this year we're going to talk about we're going to bring in Habakkuk 2:2.
Let's do it.
So Habakkuk 2:2 talks about writing down the revelation and making it plain. God is telling Habakkuk to write down what he's given him, the vision that he has for Israel. And I think that when we write things down, and we talk about this with journaling all the time, when we write things down, we just do better with it than if we don't. And another thing is really about keeping the goals clear and manageable, and making it about adding things to me, things that I want versus trying to pull something away. Oh, I want to lose weight. What about I want to get healthier? Mm-hmm. So those kind of things is really what I think about. But last year I did, the first time I've ever done this, I did a vision board. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted to bring this podcast into a vision board session.
Yeah. And it's very interesting because in my successful resolutions, I'm going to call them resolutions for the concept, but it's not tied into New Year's resolutions. It's just goal setting and casting, and it's just different words for it, have been things that I have written down. Whether God gave them to me in a dream or woke me up, like the midnight calling. When I sat down and wrote it down, it created a roadmap for me. I can be very goal-oriented, and having it written down and knowing, okay, this is the end goal, but it also helps me break it down. How can I get there? And it makes the journey clearer for me. Mm-hmm. When I don't write it down and I'm just thinking of the outcome, it brings anxiety, because it's like you get lost midway. It's like you start with all this energy, and I think that's what happens with resolutions. Most of the time, the weight loss resolution is because we overate over the holidays. So most of the time it comes from Thanksgiving, well, sometimes October because of the candy and all that, all the way to January 1st, we overate. And every time we're about, that's personal experience and people that I know that have shared that with me. Every time we're about to go to this event, this Christmas party, and we know food's going to be involved, it's like, oh, come January 1st, I'm going to stop. So it doesn't matter how much I indulge right now.
Absolutely.
So there's already this like tit for tat negotiation with our resolutions, because the reason we're even saying that is because we're justifying not following goals we already have. So I feel like New Year's resolutions are things we already know we want to improve.
Right.
Improve and add, like you said, to ourselves, but we're in this instant gratification mode, or in this I'm just going to do it later type of mentality. That's why I said I have a love-hate relationship, because I believe that when God gives you goals, or when you decide that you have plans, because the Bible says you have plans and God ordains your steps. People sometimes take that as God is going to change your plans. Not necessarily. He puts the plans in you. I believe that most of the time plans come from God. You guys can go back to the episode where we talk about the midnight calling. We talk a lot about it. It's our first episode, actually. But God ordains our steps means those things, those goals that we have, when we write them down, God sets things in motion. So that if we are in motion to those things become a reality. Writing them down is a reminder. This is a goal you have. This is something you want to do. Do you really want to have that extra scoop of ice cream? Is this aligning with your goals? It's not supposed to be condemning. It's supposed to be inspiring.
Right.
And that's like God's wisdom. He knows we operate that way. We're visual. We like to just know where we're headed, whether we admit it or not. Even people like me that say they don't want to be retained by structure, I thrive in structure. I just have to create the structure. It can't be created for me, if that makes sense. I don't think anybody thrives without structure. I think we have people that need structure given to them, and other people need to create structure. I definitely have learned that in my old age, that I need to create structure for myself. I don't thrive in other people's structure, but I do thrive in a structure. God is a God of order. And we are made in his image. So there has to be some form of order in our lives. Even if it doesn't make sense to somebody else, it has to be something that's orderly for us.
So I'm glad you said the orderly, because one of the things that I've been doing since I've opened up my practice is I've been blogging. I'm doing a lot of blogging, and we're now trying to put a blog out with each episode, the podcast episode. But the very first blog that I created the image for was New Year, New Hope. And it was really leaning into this ideal that New Year's resolutions as a whole do not work. But it's about being intentional, setting small and attainable goals. So I want us to think about that as we go through each of these areas. We're going to take Maslow's hierarchy and help encourage you to create a vision board thinking about these different areas. Now, not every one of these areas might resonate well with you, but I'm sure something in here will. And I'm even going to challenge my co-host to see. So I have a vision board, manifestation board where we're going to go and we're going to create a vision board. I would love to see your vision board.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yes, I already have my word for the year of 2025.
I don't, and I need to pray for it. I don't. I normally get it, honestly, during the holidays. I usually get it. Like, I think about it before that, but it comes to me through the holidays. So last year I was so uncertain. I picked one of the two that I was really, and I didn't have it until like probably mid-January. I was really struggling with it. This year, I feel like it was just deposited, and I didn't even realize. So, whoa, wait a minute! I was talking about something. I was talking about all the things. So my word this year is launch, and I feel like now that I've launched, and we've started a lot of things. We really started getting consistent with the podcast this year. We did the conference and did the workshop. We've done all these things. We're really launching this year. But I feel like in 2025, it's time to soak. Yeah. So that is my word for 2025. But as I look at the word soak, I'm going to look at each one of these. So physical needs. How do we prioritize self-care? And
what are some tangible, and I don't mean lose weight, guys, y'all, that's just automatically setting yourself up for failure. But one of the things that I've been doing this year for self-care is the 5Ks. So I might put something on my vision board that indicates a 5K. It might be a medal. It might be the spelling of 5K. I'm not very creative. I say that, but have y'all seen my pottery? I love my pottery.
Every time people tell me they're not very creative, I'm like, you might not be creative in the way you think you need to be creative, but I don't believe there's a single human on earth that has no creativity. I just think our creativity is expressed differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do not say that. It's not true. Her pottery, her book, the way she creates all the content and the graphics, that's creativity. It doesn't have, sometimes we're just our worst critics.
We are.
Yeah.
Even no matter how much healing we have, we still struggle with those
I
things,
refuse to accept people that tell me they're not creative. You're just not creative in the way you see other people's. You just admire other people's creativity a certain way and diminish yourself, and I'm not letting you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so glad I have somebody like Isa in my life. Who's your Isa?
Yes, we all need people that see that, and it's biblically sound for everybody that's listening. We're created in God's image, and who is more creative than our Creator? And if we're created in His image, He just has all of the creativity, and then He distributed it to us in different areas. Just like there's flowers and there's oceans and there's paintings and there's light, and He's all creative. We just focus on different things. And some people are good with words. Some people are great with their hands. We're all creative, though.
Yeah.
That's my stance.
Absolutely. Okay. So another thing that I might put on my vision board this year is I'm going to Scotland next year.
Oh my gosh, and I'm so jealous.
I never thought I was going to.
So if I'm turning green, it's because I am jealous. Yes.
But I am going for a 4-day retreat, and it's all about rest and recovery. And there's some therapy type stuff, but it's really about connecting to God. And it's it has the I can't think of the thing that it's called because it completely just ran away from my mind. But
we can just put the word up when we
it's a spiritual retreat, and I'm so looking forward to it. And the place that it's at is like in the middle of the Highlands. I don't know, it's just so beautiful. And so
that's exciting. I cannot wait to hear for that trip.
So an image of something like that might be your thing that you put for physical rest.
A trip, to me is the beach. I love the beach. That's where I unwind. So I would have ocean in there.
Safety needs. Yes. So something we probably don't talk about enough is creating emotional boundaries. So what makes us feel safe and secure? What makes you feel safe and secure?
I think to me it's stability. It's like it's hard for me to depend on people. So that means that's my need. And I've learned this. I learned that things that I struggle the most with relationships is the thing that probably I need the most. And I'm just protective of that so that I'm not vulnerable. But just depending on people, not because of my performance, but just because they are who they say they are.
Right.
Yeah. And that's very, very important to me. You don't have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. And grace goes a long way. I think when people can be, it's not even predictable. I don't need people to be predictable. That's not the right word. I'm struggling with the word, but it's really just, knowing that we can be perfectly together. I think that's what it is. I like perfectly imperfect. I think when you are genuine to yourself, I find it very safe.
Yes.
To be around people that are genuine to themselves.
I think of that as the person that accepts me for who I am.
Yes, and very tied into that. Very tied into that.
I have a best friend who she might struggle to return a text. And I could get really in my feels about that because, we've been best friends for a long time. And I could get really in my feels about that. Or I can accept that that's part of her personality. And I can call her and say, hey, bestie, did you see my text? Because I just need a real quick answer. I know you got stuff going on, but, real quick answer, and we'll handle it and we'll move away. There's no shame. There's no pressure to change her or to change me. She recognizes that I might need that answer. That's something I need. And I recognize that, she's,
her phone's not on her.
Her phone is not on her. And, so we accept, those things about one another. So.
Yeah, I think one thing that's helped me, and you might be veering a little bit, and we'll get back on topic, to be able to even be that to other people, is to recognize that people's behaviors are not about me. I think most of the time we have a challenge to connect with people that might push our triggers. We have to remember those are our triggers, and it's okay to express them to the people close to us. And as loving people, we should honor people's triggers. But the things that we do are about ourselves. And the things that people do are about themselves. They just happen to bleed out. That's why we talk about a better way. So we're not bleeding on people.
Right.
But the reality is, if we take that self-control and that self-awareness and we say, yeah, it's hurtful what this person is doing right now, but it really isn't about me, even if they're trying to make it about me.
Oh, absolutely.
It really isn't. It really isn't, because it's coming from them and they're reacting to trauma, to something, to their own assumptions, to even my own behavior. But it's not about me unless I make it about me.
Oh, absolutely.
And if I take grace and I say, you know what, that was hurtful. I think it's rude. I believe it to be rude. I think common sense says it's rude. And I'm not talking about the text. There's no something behind it. But then I say, but I don't have to know and assume they know they're being rude. There's a very big chance they're unaware of their impact their behavior has on other people's lives because they're consumed by their own journey.
Right.
And if you are comfortable enough to express that to a person, that's real relationship. To me, that's iron sharpens iron, because you're extending grace while also making your boundaries known and not judging or accusing.
Absolutely.
I can say, this really affects me in a negative way, but I can completely understand that you might be going through something. And if it's something we can work out together, obviously that requires relationship. Let's do that.
Right.
Because sometimes there's people you just gotta walk away. They're not in a place to,
I can't tell you how many people will come into my office and will have some concerns about somebody else's behavior. They're not in the room. And so the only thing we can work on is ourselves and how we respond. And if somebody is doing something, let's say you have a friend, and I'm not talking about my bestie because she and I have a very close relationship, but let's say you have somebody who just never puts forth the effort, and you're always putting forth the effort, then setting an emotional boundary of, okay, I'm going to sit back and let them do the responding. I'm not going to put in 100% of my effort and them not put in any. And so it's really recognizing I can't change this other person. And if I want them to be in my life, even though they make me feel bad about who I am, then that might say more about me and my own need for healing than it does about someone else. Other people and their behavior that's theirs. And now we can almost train people how to treat us. And so if we accept poor behavior, then but if I say, I really want a mutual relationship, then and that really ties into the love and belonging, which is nurturing relationships. Really moving. And these are so tied together, y'all. So the safety,
it's a pyramid.
needs,
You can't,
exactly.
one can't function without the other.
Exactly. So safety needs, I only feel safe when I maybe have relationships that are nurturing and not abrasive.
And we can dreamcast this. I believe we can put it on a board. For instance, for me, if I were to work on my vision board, and I love this guideline. It's like a bullet point on how to build an efficient vision board that meets all your needs, because it's based on.
We'll make sure these get in the show.
Yeah, it makes sense. Instead of you just putting wants up there, which a lot of people do with their vision boards. You're addressing every aspect of your need life, your just life. Okay. So for me, for instance, to apply it to that love and relationship, I could put something like read more scripture, go to therapy, like make a time to deal with my triggers and my traumas. So if it's a picture that I'm putting in, I could put a Bible, I can put a logo to a book that like self-help or something along those lines, where it's more than just meditating or self-care, like a retreat for pleasure, but intentional. And you would know what it is for you. For me, it would be a Bible and maybe something with self-control on it, or like awareness, or something along those lines. That would help me be like, I am going to be more intentional with my relationships and make sure that I am extending grace and self-control, and knowing that the emotions that I'm feeling, they're mine, and they're my responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for me, it might be even like I do pottery. I mean, y'all may have heard me mention that before. I don't know, maybe a couple times.
Maybe.
But yeah, it might be that pottery community and really connecting with the pottery community. One thing that I'm hoping to find at some point is a pottery retreat. But that's probably for 2026. But just really connecting with people that are like-minded. It could be your church group, or it could be if you're a car person, going to a car show and meeting car people.
Whatever really, you enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this next one. This next one is all about building self-worth. So how many times, and even me saying I'm not creative, and I know I'm creative, and we were, joshing about that a little bit, but words are powerful. And so I'm certainly not going to put on my vision board, you need to be more creative. I might put something like
pottery.
Yes.
Paint brushes. Anything that you want to start doing more of that's creative to you.
Yeah.
Gardening, flower arrangements. She does flower arrangements for the church. So like something along those lines, right? Yeah. Or something new. It might be something you don't think you're good at. Because I think it goes back to us bantering a little bit. I think people think that because they're not good at something creative, that they're just not creative. And I can't compare myself. I don't want to compare myself, and I shouldn't compare myself to an impressionist artist that can literally paint almost photographically, because that's a different type of creativity. There's a gift along with that creativity. But I look at my children. I think that's a good example. They're all creative, right? Like we said, everybody's creative. But I have a son that we can purchase Legos for him, and he'll do the instructions and do it exactly how the instructions, and then he deconstructs it again and rebuilds something completely different with all the pieces of all the Legos he has. And they are amazing. Sometimes they're better than what was in the instruction in the box. He makes them mobile. Like they actually move and they're mechanical. He has an engineering brain. That's his creativity. Then I have my oldest son that, he does what the instructions say, but he has a way with words, and he can write down and create comic books and draw. But you see, if I were to say, if I don't affirm those things in them as being the same creativity, and I make it that Zen is creative and AJ is just smart, that's what we do sometimes.
Yes.
Because we associate the fact that he is good with words with being smart. I'm doing something positive, but I'm doing something negative at the same time. Without right affirmation, I made me think my son that's engineering oriented feel like he's not smart because he doesn't have this level of this type of creativity. And then I can make this son believe he's not creative or in enough. And that's what we do to ourselves. We start comparing instead of just seeing creativity is creativity.
Right.
Talent is talent. I might not be able to sing. Some people can dance. Some people can't sing, but they can play instruments. Some people can be. It's all the same though. It comes from the same source. It's creativity. It's talent. It's gift.
And so when we do things that operating out of our creative self and it really helps us feel empowered.
Yes.
And it helps build our self-confidence and our self-worth, which is why we talk about that here in the building our self-worth. Because when I feel like I'm accomplished, like I've only been doing pottery, y'all, for almost 2 years. February make 2 years, but I really feel like my pottery is really good. And that's not boasting or thinking more of myself. Not like a 5-year potter or a 10-year potter, but it's pretty good. And there's a certain level of confidence that comes with that. And of course, I know everything I have is from God, and God doesn't create junk. And sometimes we put ourselves down before someone else can put ourselves down. And so if we can really find ways to build ourselves up, put something on your vision board that I am beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
I am, that I
made
am
in the image of God.
Absolutely.
I am his perfect creation. And
absolutely.
We forget that that's what God says about us.
And don't say things that I tell you to put. Don't put anything on there
These
that
are
I
just
tell
examples.
You to put. Yes, definitely examples, but they have to be authentic to you.
Yeah.
Now, as an early therapist, and if any of my early clients are watching, I apologize if I ever did this to you. But one of the things that we do is we tell people to say these affirmations, which are great, but I can be the next president of the United States. Maybe if I was 2 and I was working my way up there, maybe I could. I am not going to be the next president of the United States, and that doesn't feel authentic to me when I say that out loud.
Yeah.
And so if I'm affirming something that doesn't feel authentic to myself, I'm teaching myself to lie to me.
And almost setting yourself up for disappointment, I believe. I think there's something to it, though. If you decide, okay, I can be the next president, let's say that's the first thought that came to you. Maybe it's because we have to do some self-awareness and spend some time with ourselves. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm never going to be it, because no, it doesn't have to be negative. It's more like, why do I want to be America's next president? And in that why question, you might realize, oh, I want to make change for my nation. Does that mean you have to be a president to make change for my nation? So your dream, your goal, that thing that God put in you is still real and authentic. You just have to dig deeper, because we sometimes saying I can be America's next president is a superficial level thing, because it's a thing that already exists. And it's attainable. If you think about it, there's 300 million Americans and one president every 4 years at a time. The likelihood of people in their lifetime being president is so much smaller, but there's millions of people leading in their community and making change every day. And it doesn't have to look and have a particular name. And it doesn't have to look like what you recognize, because it's already exists. Remember, there's something in you that is needed in that circle that doesn't exist. We're unique, right? At the same time, we're the same. It's complicated, but I think we just have to dig deeper in those affirmations. Are we just superficially saying things because we think that's what we need to say, or why do I want that?
Absolutely.
Why do I need this? And I think we can do that with everything, even things that are attainable. I can ask deeper. Like, I want this. I want a Suburban which is fine, a new vehicle, but I need to know why. Is it because I want people to see me at a certain status? Then I have to deal with that and work with that. Or is it, no, that's practical for me and my kids because I have 7 children, and I say Suburban because it's we get to figure ourselves out. I think those vision boards are not only us dream casting, but it's kind of like a snapshot of our thought life. Think about it. It's what we're thinking. And I was like, okay, do I need to adjust my thought life to be more intentional, more specific, and more life-giving?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we have a few more to get through, and we are getting close to time.
I know. Yes. I think they bleed into it. I think that cognitive needs, to me, is us learning from that casting board.
Absolutely. I love that. And you may find intellectual challenges. I think that the new year is also a time for doing something different that you've never done before. Just to try it. 1 year I tried piano, and I love the piano, but it didn't capture me. 1 year I tried pottery, and it captured me. So not everything I try is going to be something I stay with, but try something.
It goes back to learning and growing. You're learning about yourself.
Absolutely.
Fail forward. Try something.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So, and we're doing the extended Maslow today. We're not doing the standard 5 levels. We're doing the extended.
Mhm.
Okay. Aesthetic needs. It's appreciating beauty and harmony, and for that creativity, the art and nature. We've been talking about that. You know, pictures of the beach, maybe pictures of the mountains of Scotland.
Yeah. If you've been looking at your house and you're like, you know what, I kind of want to change my aesthetics. Like, I liked this 10 years ago, and I come here and I feel like it makes me feel like I'm in a rut. Remember, we're visual, and we kind of like, we go back to Clara, to the previous episode, all those things. So you can put that in there. Okay, I want to remodel. It doesn't have to be expensive. I'm not talking $20,000 pulling out a kitchen. It could be paint, and I'm going to do it myself. And you can incorporate your creativity. I'm going to change the furniture. I'm going to just even rearranging. So something like that, something that is pleasing to you, that when you look at it, you're like, oh, this makes me feel serene.
Yeah.
And put it up there, and you'll get inspired to do it in your space.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one is self-actualization, which we know that's a word we struggle with. What does that even mean? And it really means living up to your best self. It's living authentically. You know, if I am passionate to help people and I don't try to help people because maybe I've been hurt, maybe I've been, abused, and I have been all those things, but if I'm passionate about helping people and I don't do that, I'm not living authentically as to who I am.
Yeah. And authentic, it literally means that. It doesn't have to look like anybody else. It doesn't even have to look like somebody you admire. I think sometimes we feel that we have to be carbon copies of who we admire when we were made to be ourselves.
Yeah. The last one is transcendence. This is really about giving back to your community. To we at our church, we have this thing where we do life bags. We every other month we contribute to some community need in our community, whether it's things like the Hope Pregnancy Center or to veterans needing clothing, something like that. We contribute to that because it's very important. We contribute nationally and globally, but we contribute to our local community. Yeah. So I think that's very important to really do those kind of things. And something I really wanted to leave us with is that better framework. When we look at the vision casting for the year, I want you to think about this as we get ready to close. One of the things that we've come up with is a framework out of A Better Way, all things a better way. And it's the word better. And we'll put this up on the screen. But the B is begin to understand, begin to notice what are some of the things what are your, anything that you are having tripping points on or things like that. What's the root, notice that I have a tripping point first. I'm walking around like a walking wounded. Sometimes I don't even know I'm walking wounded. So begin to notice. And then we really want to educate. Education is so important. And I can't tell you how many times I have even said, oh, wow, that's why I do that. Those kind of things. And then we take down the walls. And rebuild. Absolutely. So we have to take our defense mechanisms because, Isa may have been hurt at some point in her life and she might say, I'm not going to let people in here. But sometimes the healing can't get to her unless she's connected. So really pulling down those walls. And then it's transformation. And this might be where trauma work needs to happen, or this might just need where you rework those negative beliefs about yourself. Instead of saying I'm not creative, I am creative in the way that God made me to be creative. Finding ways to reframe those thoughts. And then it's all about empowering, and establishing the really about just soaking in that space. And then the R is for rise up, or really building resilience.
It's amazing. And if you listen to how we've spoken, I know we dedicated a lot more time to some of the ones in the beginning, but they do all bleed into themselves.
Yes.
It's just like an expansion. The basic ones are 5 of them, and then these are more specific to that. I think the big takeaway is be authentic. Don't be afraid. It tends to be these vision boards you don't have to share with people until you're ready. They're private. Think of them like little visual diaries in which you are essentially reminding yourself of what your goals are and what you're going to focus throughout the year in accomplishing. It also, at the end of the year, it's kind of like, remember the stickers when you used to go to school and used to do complete a task or read the books and you got a little star? You get to look at the things that you are accomplishing throughout the year, and that's a great fuel and motivator too. You believe it might seem like, well, no, it's going to be a reminder of what I haven't done. If you focus on that, it could be, but the likelihood of you not completing any on that board that year is unless you fall ill or something, it's not likely. So when you decide, oh man, I did do this. Okay, that's off my list. I accomplished it.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next one. There's this, we're chemical people. God created us with a reward system, and our bodies reward us when we accomplish things. Our bodies flow dopamine into our bloodstream to make us feel motivated and empowered to actually do more. And God intended that. Yes, we abuse it, but that's neither here nor there. That has nothing to do with it being wrong. It just has to do with, we need to learn how to utilize that God gave us. And it's completing things. Completing things is extremely rewarding for our brains.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to share these kind of these tips in the it'll be in the show notes or on the blog. Wow, my brain almost went completely blank. But it'll be out there for you to kind of look at. And I would love to hear, and I know Isa would love to hear, what are some of your thoughts? What is, what's the top thing you're going to put on your vision board? And show us pictures. We're going to share mine. I'm going to share mine. She's going to share hers. And then you guys are more than welcome to comment with yours if you're comfortable. Again, it is private. You can cover it up. You don't have to share it. You can even just bullet point what you're thinking of. But it's just a good way to keep ourselves motivated and just like praying for you, praying for unity, for your goals to be accomplished, for clarity to come, and for that, that awakening of a routine for your life that is already built in you. It's just like we forget and we get out of sync. And I'm going to put in the actual filming, not filming, that's not the right way to say that. The recording. I'm going to actually put my vision board in there, and so that you can see what that looks like. It gives you, not that mine is perfect, I took way longer than I was supposed to, but it turned out to be what it is. And there are some things on there that I accomplished, and there are some things that I did not accomplish. And you know what? It's still beautiful, and it's still something I want to do again. So
it's exciting. And you know what? I'm thinking maybe we need to organize a vision board party, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes, absolutely. That would be so
that would be so awesome at our building. Oh my gosh. Yes,
absolutely.
All right. Stay tuned.
All right. So I think that's all we have for today.
Yes.
So if you have not been out to the website, www.eleanorbrowncounseling.com, you can find all of our stuff. You can find all the stuff about the books. We have 2, a better way, integrating faith and psychology to heal inner wounds. And then we have the workbook that goes with that, or can stand on its own. So you can go out and check those out. We do have a combo price, and you can check out our podcast, obviously, and then be on the lookout. Eventually, we're going to be doing another conference.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So be on the lookout for info about that. And, comment, like, share, subscribe, do all the things.
Yes. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.